All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are live, as it seems. Um, I will make a quick introduction. This is Ivaras. My name is Gabriel. And while everyone is joining the webinar, we will first talk. I will give you a quick rundown through the agenda, what we are going to talk about. And if you can give me a favor and go to the comment section before we start and give a quick comment if you can hear us, and you can also leave a message from which company you are. It will give us at least some instant feedback, and then we will carry on. So basically, the webinar is scheduled for approximately 1 hour. So we will try to make it in 1 hour, depending on how talkative we will be today. We already had a couple coffees. And basically, the way it goes is that first we'll make an introduction. Then we will talk about who is a typical candidate for card issuing, what are the biggest pain points. We will go through a typical journey of a financial institution or a candidate for card issuing. We will look at card issuing from the perspective of the processor and also from the perspective of a client. We will reveal the biggest secret, what marriage has to do with card issuing. And towards the end, of course, we will see what it takes to go through an RFP, RFI process and go live period. There's going to be an interesting section, a sort of a giveaway. So if this was a podcast, we would call it a giveaway, where we will discuss a fintech program which was launched by DECTA and the card schemes, where you can save quite some funds on the implementation fees and monthly fees. And at the very end, we will have a Q&A session where you will have a chance to ask questions, and hopefully we'll have plenty of time for some listeners' questions. So that's about the agenda.
I will be the person who will try to win Gabriel plan, as I'm a serial person here. So I'll be participating here to contradict with Gabriel as much as I can, to not sound as a sales pitch, but to really answer the questions that might be interesting for the potential issuers and troubles that you're taking.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, and there's also one more thing which I forgot. There will be a couple polls in the slides, so you will have an opportunity to answer some of the questions. So we will discuss certain topics, and you will have an opportunity to vote. So this is also an addition, to make it more interactive.
Yeah.
So I believe we have gone through the technicalities, and
I guess
we can start.
2 chats. One the private one, but we're seeing comments if anyone wants to.
Perfect. Yeah, so we already have some responses from listeners, and hopefully there's a number of them. So I believe we can really start. So I think at the beginning we will just make an introduction. My name is Gabriel, and I represent the company DECTA. In the title of this presentation, I was called a payment expert. And somewhere on LinkedIn, I also saw that I'm a seasoned expert. I'm not sure about the word seasoned, but let's say I'm responsible for the sales in the DECTA. And I originally come from Slovakia. I moved to Latvia approximately 10 years ago, and I'm often proudly saying that this was one of the best decisions of my life because I met my wife in Latvia, and as I mentioned, the card issuing has a lot to do with marriage, so I need to say that my marriage is very good. What about you, Ivaras?
Yeah, I'm married too, so that answers your question. I'm really happy that Gabriel invited me to share the experience from issuer perspective. We had some deals with DECTA, so I know how they work. I know how the other issuer process works. So it will be interesting to share that knowledge and all of the good and bad things that comes with that. So I'm not sure if I need to introduce or Gabriel will do that, but
please go ahead.
I'm not called myself as a seasoned or undercooked or whatever the case would be of a expert in payments, but I have a bit of experience. It's close to 20 years. in the payments area that serve from the bank transfers, card POS terminals, acquiring, issuing, and working multiple jurisdictions: Norway, UK, Germany, Austria, Czech Republic, Lithuania, and the rest of the Baltic states. So I have a bit of experience in different scenarios with transitions of issuer from one product to the other, from one card scheme to the other, building that from scratch, building that from new, incorporating the licensing for EMIs, banking licensing, etc. So I have full kind of view over what's happening in different scenarios. I really hopefully I will be able to share some of those ideas and steps that will help for people that want to get into the business. And obviously I will not advocate for that. That's really complicated business to get in and or to prove yourself. So be careful on getting there. But if you do, we will talk about what it means.
Yes. So yeah, the topic of today's webinar, as was mentioned, is how to master a card issuing business. So hopefully, if you will not be able to master it after this webinar, you will at least have some idea what is going on, where to start exactly. And I just want to say that this is the first webinar of a series of webinars that they will organize, and the topics will not be only DECTA related. There will be some B2B marketing, lead generation, digital banking, and so on. And maybe actually even farming, because Aivaras is a recreational. He has a few farms in Lithuania, so
yeah.
That
is a hobby.
That's a hobby.
Big business. So,
yeah.
But yeah, if Gabriel will be good with the audience in terms of the numbers and etc., it might be the new idea for our podcast.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable payments, because we are new in that area. So there's a lot of options that we'll be able to do in that area.
Liva? Okay. I think I will just check if we are still live, because seems like we are. Okay, so I think we can carry on and start the webinar as such. So I will now share the screen. We have a PowerPoint presentation. And I think the first topic that we would like to describe or talk about is like, who is an ideal candidate for card issuing, and what are the sort of prerequisites of entering the card issuing business. And now we are more looking at it from the perspective of what is needed for an institution, let it be financial institution or otherwise, to start issuing cards. So I'm, as I mentioned, I'm at sales at DECTA, so I usually talk to the clients first line, talk to leads, prospects, people at conferences and otherwise. And so I'm describing the let's say the most fundamental needs that the customer kind of needs to take care of. And if we would have to make a quick summary, we would say that a prerequisite is having bins. So that's pretty much a necessity. And in order to get bins, you either become a principal member of one of the schemes or you get a bin sponsor. And this maybe Aivaras will later elaborate, but it kind of depends on the business plan, how many clients and cards you're going to issue. So these are the questions that you kind of have to answer yourself. But nowadays you also have to kind of take that into your budget. So we will kind of break it down a little bit later. But essentially, having bins is the first prerequisite, and that kind of comes hand in hand with some sort of a financial license. So let it be, either banking, EMI, EMD, payment institution license. The third one will probably be having a partner, technological vendor, such as a payment processor, so technical processor on the issuing side. And then probably a business plan, to make the card issuing work, because, in some cases, card issuing is nice to have. And mostly we are talking about it, or at least when I'm talking to clients, it's mostly for, neo-banking, challenger banking use cases. But of course, we know that there are some kind of more untraditional use cases, such as gift cards, some payroll cards, and so on. So I would say these are the kind of main pillars that you need to have in order to kind of, apply or let's say qualify for the card issuing business. Is there anything that I'm perhaps missing?
A lot.
Okay.
So you're definitely talking from the perspective of a sales guy, right? So you're seeing the points where it actually starts, where the things already elaborate a bit more, right? And even the business case itself is already part of the process where you're selecting partners already, and you're calculating the cost, and you are making final decisions. That's you already passed the RFPs, and the rest of the things. But I would actually would get back much earlier to the stage of a selection. If you actually need a card, so I would say most probably no.
Okay.
Whether it sounds harsh, in most cases the cards are really complicated as a business to get in. One, probably there is a 99% of all ideas already exhausted in terms of the cards, and it's probably moving away to other means of the payment methods, right? And the cards is no longer a plastic thing that you're handling to the merchant to transact or online, right? It's expanded to Google Wallet, Apple Pay, and similar things that is much further than that. The watches and so on, all the other IoTs from paying for parking and so on. So there are so many elements, biometrics and so on, that brings all the transacting environment being totally different. But getting back to point of let's say you need a card, right? The first point will something that you'll need to decide whether you're agreeing as a complimentary service, which most probably will be, because product as such, as a standalone being the cards, almost any bank, financial institution, EMI, or other licensed entities can acquire, get, and serve their customers with. So basically, we'll be competing with almost anyone in the market. Even so, with the as you've mentioned, few payroll cards and similar things, you're already competing with those kind of services. Discount cards, and similar things. So for you, the first thing would be thinking about whether your idea is unique. And it's not only thinking, but actually evaluating whether it's unique. Right? So that's the first thing. If you're thinking it's worth trying, then you're thinking about how many customers you will acquire, how big your market is for the service or for a niche you're trying to play in. Because if it will go worldwide, I mean, there is a Revolut, Nubank, and many other providers that are on big scale. You need to think about what or how different you are compared to them, whether your service will be that unique. Because now many of them are about wholesale, meaning acquiring many customers in order to serve them and or have unique service. Plus, most probably like 90% or so, you will be a complimentary service with the issuing as a product, as a part of your portfolio. So meaning competing in the market that will be either for free or with really minor fees, and which will be added through on top of add-ons and services that are charged. But the basic service will be for free. So you need to think whether that is sufficient enough to be as a separate business area, or this just will be running service on top. So that's, I guess, the first thing you need to decide before getting in, where your place is with the product. If you're seeing the future, if you're seeing the niche there that you will get out into the market, then you start going into other elements. I would say now usually, in my experience, I do the bit earlier selecting the partners. One, you realize what is your own infrastructure is. In most of the cases, and now in the commodity market, it doesn't make sense for you to build all of those things from scratch. So you will rely entirely on your partners. Whether you're using the core system, most probably that will not be natively built. That will be somewhat outsourced, that you're buying as a license, or you use that as a service in a way in the cloud or similar premises. So you will need to figure out, firstly, what is your partners that will deliver that service.
And actually we will talk about this a little bit later. Here I just wanted to establish like what are kind of the prerequisites. So if you did decide that you are going for the card issuing, which is usually the case when I'm talking to prospects, from the sales perspective, they come to us with the decision that they are going for the cards, regardless whether it's a nice to have or they see a business there. So this is basically, we can establish that kind of these pillars are something that you must have. And then, of course, we will talk about the other stuff. So for the listeners, we have shared also the kind of interactive poll that you can participate. And you can see that some of you have voted, and we have one more such a poll in the next topic. So we have defined, let's say, ideal client or what are the prerequisites of car issuing. And now we will talk about like what are the challenges, hurdles, obstacles, pain points of let's say getting there, or whether you already have issuing business or you are getting there. Like what are the, let's say, most typical hurdles? And again, I can start here that of course the most obvious ones would be, not having principal membership or bin sponsorship, or not having the let's say finances to go for it. So let's say not having existing business model that is sufficient enough to finance this, to have this card, whether it be plastic or tokenized. And the other thing, it's also very obvious not having team of expert or experienced staff that is able to launch this product, because we know that not only you need to have IT infrastructure, product owners, but also obviously a sufficient running engine that can sell the solution further. So I think here are some other ones that we mentioned on the screen. As you can see that there are quite a few items, and for each and every one, you either need to have a good team within your company, you need to have means to to finance it, or sufficient business plan that maybe Ivaras, you have some other you work as a fintech consultant, you get hired by potential future issuers, they want to evaluate whether it's worthy for them to go for the issuing. Like what do you find there? Like what the potential issuers are usually struggling with?
I guess the first point will be the idea. I already mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So before selecting the actual solution and how it will look in market and all the value, it doesn't make sense even to progress further. Let's say you're already there, right? You have financial means to cover that. I would say you still need to think about somewhere around 1 million euros or so, if you're talking euros, to have the packet, that starting package. Because all of the sites, whether that Mastercard or Visa, they will select, the department will select, the core systems, the application, so on, will be somewhat at minimum to go live. But talking 1 million euros or so. So if you cross that part already, then you need to define what the product will look like. So issuing is not like, you have a card. How the card will look like, whether you have that bamboo or plastic or metal card, or whether you need to stand out. You need to think about the how the card will look like, what the features it will have, whether it will have the Google Wallet and Apple Pay, which is nowadays must, right? So you need to invest. You need to think about the timing, when you will launch, how long this will take. And the most common element there will be you will overestimate your power on getting there, and you will be always late 3 to 6 months on getting. So you need to be prepared for delays and have the means of covering the delays, because you will hire a team, you will hire the experts and etc. that will take there. So that's the start pack that you need to think about it, and then progress with elements. The main thing I would say, there's quite a few crossroads you will need to select before deciding how or what issuer you will be, right? You will be relying entirely on one partner. You will be building the infrastructure from multiple partners, or you will build that on your own, right? So that's basically three parts you need to think about it. If that's the thing that you are building from scratch, I would say no, you shouldn't. Because that will be too costly. You're thinking about now 3 million or 5 million to launch. So it's like 3, 4, 5 times more to invest in that.
It's very good that you mentioned concrete numbers. I think it's going to be useful for the listeners.
Because, that's my experience. And it's mostly for Europe markets, where if we would talk about US or other markets, that might be slightly different because it's more expensive to go live there. And legislative or regulatory environment is more complicated to acquire the financial institution license, that costs more money on top as well. So whether you think to get there, you need to think about funding a lot.
Yeah. So actually, you brought up very good points, and I would maybe just close this topic with a combination of what we also have received via Slido, the answers, because this is exactly what I see when I talk to potential issuers who are approaching us. Again, it was said that you need to have bins and you need to have a processor. So just the sheer cost of having these two combined, and I think mostly on the bin side, so the card scheme programs are very, very expensive. And you need to have a team built around it to be able to support it, because we are rolling out a new product. So you mentioned heavy IT infrastructure, integration to the core. So just talking about bins plus processing, that's already quite heavy. And people don't have necessarily the knowledge of the licensing part, how to get there, how to get to the bins. So we having the principal membership. So
I guess we'll expand on that, but to turn back and probably get some responses to questions we were getting there. I guess you need to always have A and B plans. So whatever the partnership you will select, whether that's DECTA, your favorite, or that would be other entities in market as a partnership that would select it. You always need to have the plan B, right? You might decide to go with the bin sponsorship. It sounds significantly easier and cheaper at very beginning, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it becomes really expensive if you're thinking about large numbers in terms of the cards you will be issuing.
Yeah.
Whether that's SMB businesses or it's the private card businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to think about how you will transit those bins, because the usually cost of a transition between A and B plans might be so expensive that it will not make sense to leave. But at the same time, this will be ruining your business because the expenses will be that high.
Yeah.
So you need to have a plan with the bin sponsor. So you would either own the bins on their infrastructure, or you are registered as a bin owner within Visa and MasterCard. That allow you, without reissuing the cards, move between the different processors or different purse bureaus much easier without that much complications. So think about that. And we have a question around the SMB market. So it's really hard to stand out at this point on private businesses. I guess it's almost impossible at this point to be different, right? SMB, in my view, is not yet exhausted as a side of issuing of the cards, kind of a product element in the overall market. But what I'm seeing in the market where it moves already into the scale of a kind of Revolut concept that you have all in one. It is so basically you need to set the ground, having all the necessary products being associated with the business cards. So let's start with the card itself, right? What features you want? Most probably, if it's a business card, it's a lot of the traveling and expenses related to traveling and so on. So you need to think about all the discount programs related to flying, the place in airports being bought out and similar things. So it's like naturally understood by the entities as a must-have as a part of the portfolio. The other is the expense management, which is complicated. It comes from large institutions like Western Union, which is really the big entity, and a lot of business cards that they're issuing or using for their own employees for traveling purposes as a business mean, right? So managing the expenses were really complicated. You basically the capture the receipt, you send to someone, checks whether that matches the correct cells and so on. Nowadays, there is multiple providers in market that allow to simplify the process, read the statement, and understand which the merchant that those expenses were used and allocate properly. Managing the accounting side in much better level than it was before, right? So it's must have again. Other features are related to car rentals and smaller things that expand the features and capabilities to easy access and services. And then for companies, the expense management in terms of cost, how much it costs for you to run that services and similar things. So I guess that would be must-haves. And then to advance is features like FX management, right? How you manage the FX on the cards and all of the expenses, risk allocation with that. have you capabilities to segregate the funds of a business card from the entity business account, right? For security,
I think we
fraud tools and so on.
Yeah. We will actually, good that you already started talking about this, because I think we will now quickly go through these capabilities and tools and items that you actually receive. But I will just make a quick summary. So what is a typical journey if you want to be sort of in the challenger banking, neo banking field, issuing cards which are kind of sort of must have, let it be digital or plastic for your clients to simply use. So you need to have some financial license, which will give you also access to principal membership or BIN sponsorship with the schemes to get the BINs. You need to have a processor and business plan. And of course, Ivar, as you have expanded on, there are many more components, but if we are strictly talking about issuing cards, these are the must-haves. So here I'm going to use the analogy of the marriage, but as I mentioned, some people, not myself, but some people know more about the processing than about marriage, as we often joke here at DECTA. So it's very, very important to choose a right processor.
And now I think sounds really controversial. With that point to having plan B. I do not recommend the marriage aspect, so be careful with that.
Yeah, so the selection of a processor is of course up to you, and you will have a word later on how to do it properly, because this is your expertise. But it's definitely very important, because if you choose the right partner for your business, as you mentioned, it's very, very difficult to migrate once you actually have an active portfolio of cards, or you start issuing. It's just extremely difficult to migrate. So the selection of a processor actually takes several months, sometimes even years. So it's very, very important. So I think it's the same like when you're choosing your wife, you just don't do it after the first date.
Yeah.
At least I didn't, and it proved to be successful.
Yeah. And most awful part will be if you burn from the first marriage or the first partnership. The transition to the next one, you spend significantly more time, and you figure out how much of things you've missed with the first partner, right?
Okay.
And you think about what needs to be there. So you become idealistic. So finding the partner gets more difficult after that.
The next webinar on this topic, but let's carry on about again. Okay, so Ivar, as we already started talking about, like what are the components of the issuing? It's not only the main parts that we have already mentioned. So obviously, if you are choosing, or when you're choosing the processor, I think a very essential part on the back office, the card management system is where the cards are being managed, created. You can use it. This is the tool that the financial institution is usually using for monitoring. Together with that, you get a fraud management tool, for fraud detection and prevention. And obviously, the decision whether between plastic and virtual or both includes personalization bureaus. And then there's a tokenization project on top of that, and obviously 3D secure reporting and so on. So I'm just going quickly through this because we have still a lot of ground to cover, but these are kind of main components of the card issuing.
I'll probably add one sentence on this one, is that the giver is talking from DECTA perspective, because they have it, right? But you need to think about whether that partner you will be choosing have those components, because if not, it will mean that you will need to buy. That's extra cost, extra integrations, and there is a complexity of integration with the actual processor, because you need to merge the data flows in order to manage fraud and risk environments. You need to manage the personal bureaus, integrations, and similar things. If it doesn't work entirely, that's more of a time and funds spent on developing those connections and integrations. Finding the partner as well, that's takes 2-3 months in order to decide, sign, and release for development. So be careful with that.
That's great points. Now you will continue talking, because we would like to look at the perspective of the client's perspective, how choosing or how the card issuing is actually being started. Let's say from the moment of the decision has been made internally, and then I approach you as a fintech consultant, and you take over the project. So what are the steps? Maybe if you can just spend 5 minutes, not more.
I'll ask if they really decide to go to issue.
Yeah.
I'll first check that. Usually, some of the companies do not even aware of how complicated the market is, right? And most still wears the pink glasses and think about that as a easy way in or out, right? It's not. So you will sign a contract with Visa and Mastercard at some point. There will be additional regulations and compliance, onboarding flows, and similar things in terms of the regulatory the body that manages your license, in terms of financial institution license. You will be reporting to Visa and Mastercard. You will add extra work for accounting and settlement teams in order to manage the flows and etc. So you need to be really prepared for that. It's not only about resources, having the manager or a couple of guys that will be managing the issuing side as well. That already adds component in each individual team, or almost each individual team that you already own, if you are a financial institution. So you need to think about who will be doing the settlement, how they will be doing, how they will be consuming reports, where from they're getting those things, and etc. So that's adding people as well. So it's not thinking about how the product standalone will work, but how and who will be actually taking care of it, right? So depending on automation and what the partner you're choosing, the more the coupled solution will be in a flow, the more people you will need to have, because it's extra accounts to manage, more contracts to review, more negotiations to go through, and similar things. And if it's integration, you need to think about, again, each time they will release update or new things, or that comes to the regulations from central banks, that you need to adhere to X and or regulation. That's extra step either you or your partner or your partners will need to take care of. So that's a few things probably to mention. Now, whatever the entry point is, you need to think about one market and on one market only. You do A/B testing on your customer segments. Whether you already have it or not, you need to test that. How many customers you would like, what their expectations are, what they're willing to see, and etc. That will be the ground for you to, when you will start releasing the first cards as for in-house use or for first clients to test that out. You will go through the same the ones that answer, because if those clients really answered, they're more keen to interact with you, and most probably with from the test cards that they will be getting, you will get more friendly or more honest in interaction and feedback.
Yeah, but you are okay. So you have mentioned a few important things. Business plan, choosing the right scheme, then choosing the right partners. Now, we would like to talk about the RFI, RFP process, because this is part of what the client is going through, and also the partners are going through that as well. So on DECTA side, being a tech processor, we do many of these RFPs during the year. Some of them, if we are talking about banks, that can take even 2 years. Even more if we're talking about fintech companies. I think it's usually several months, even though they promise in a month it will be closed, but then it drags on, and half a year later you still haven't.
The bigger the bank, the longer the process. That's for sure, because there's a layer step kind of approach that they having, and as Gabriel already said, the extension of a term of submitting the RFI RFP response usually are delayed, because most of the issues or problems I'm seeing from that why it's delayed is usually because they're not getting what they are asking as a solution. That's most common element. So they figure out either the pricing doesn't fit, or they do have the solutions product, and they are again back to the drawing board to redefine their product, because they are not getting what they want, right? Either it's not matching the business case and
pricing
with the pricing, right? Or it doesn't fulfill on the product, and they need to research new partnerships that potentially will be there to cover those gaps, and so on. So that's main component from my experience of part of Nordea, Western Union, which really launched entities as part of work with the issuing side. And it's usually that's the case. You're not getting what you want. That's why you're dragging, or you do not understand the product well enough, and you figure out, oh, we missed that. Because usually with the RFI or RFP responses, you're getting some of the feedback from the partner that you're engaging with, right? And you will get, there's a list of different elements, even within the commercial offer. That's for that, for this, for processing, for fraud, for any other elements in the process. And you kind of surprised in a negative way, because one, there's a much more fees that you adhere or think about, right? And on other, that means that there is so many elements in the product components in the process that you haven't thought about how this will be processed in backend, core system, ledger, and so on. So RFI, RFP, it's a must step, even so you will not be sending out, I would say. The reason for that, you internally will define what you want from the partner. So what means that we want the card. Who will produce the card? Okay, how it will look like, how we'll be getting information, where we'll store it. So it's basic questions you will be adding there, and with working with internal teams, you will define those questions in more detailed level. So that will be cloud. What will be a AWS? There will be a Microsoft, other systems, or anything like that. You will define that in that questionnaire. And with the preferences in each of the individual fields, you kind of define the path, right? But same time, being too detailed and too careful or too specific blocks you with some partnerships, because obviously there is no ideal partner you will be able to select, and some will have other systems that are using, some will have multiple, but you still will hit some walls. You will need to make a decision from one or few selections that were not part of the ones that you prefer, right? There is no ideal partner that would be able to do that.
Yeah, and actually I need to confirm this, because on the from the processor perspective, so as DECTA, we participated in many RFPs throughout the year. And you correctly mentioned that. So there are usually two parts. So one is the typical questionnaire, where you have to answer questions from different categories, product, security, infrastructure, etc. So this is usually on our side very much a team effort. And if I'm taking care of that, I have to bother pretty much all the departments, and this is the period when they are sick of me. And then, of course, the second part of the RFP or RFI is the commercial side, where you're trying to fit in within some expectations of the future issuer, where you almost never land on the first attempt, and basically after the first selection, usually you are either pre-selected or there's a second round where you have to squeeze even further, and I believe it's back and forth. This goes for several weeks. And
here it is important to think about, you never agree to first offer, as Gabriel said. That's on opposite side. So and the thing is that one, you first address multiple providers or the partners, potential partners in this case. So you will get too wide selection in a way, and their capabilities will differ too much, so it would be able to define. But this will allow you to select, let's say, 3 top, but the price, capabilities, expansion, friendliness, whatever your points of the decision is.
Friendliness is important.
Yeah, I see. So in that point, when you select those 3, they will be pretty much somewhat comparable, because whatever the case will be, whatever the market will be, you will figure out 3 that are really close, right? And close, I mean, either that's pricing and capabilities, or capabilities but pricing will differ, and so on. But when you will select those 3, that release a bit of a pressure. It's one, you know what you want, you know how to compare them. When you compare, you add all those fees, then you figure out, okay, so that's different that much, that differed that much. You have already kind of a somewhat, whether it's Excel tool or other tool you're using to compare those fees, you're matching all differences and etc. And be prepared. None of providers will have the same setup in terms of commercials. Everyone is different. Even the same fees will be structured slightly different, so you need to be thoughtful about that, because even same fee might be distributed among the different areas. So you would need to consume all of the fields at once and be good at Excel to figure out what the actual end fee per transaction will be for you. So be prepared for that. But you select 3, and then you're engaging into negotiations in terms of pricing or elements, negotiation on the product side, and you're defining product. that it's much easier. So that's why Gabriel is saying is usually more than one iteration in terms of negotiations. And I trust many of the companies do the same thing. You approach more, you reduce, you approach again, and you select the partner you want. And then there might be tweaks back and forth, smooth the edges with the final selected partner, but usually it's not that major of a difference in pricing at the end.
Yeah. So at the end, a vendor is chosen. Now, I would like to show you just a draft of a project plan. So we have already chosen a vendor, and if we talked about that, the choosing of a right partner for the business, especially the processing side, is like choosing a wife or husband. So this is a prenup. Prenup is a very complicated document, and this is a project plan. It's just a draft, just to give you an idea how many days which part of the project takes. So basically, on the process side, such as DECTA, there's an implementation manager. She draws a project plan to a specific date, and then basically together with the issuer, we are working closely. There are at least weekly calls, if not more often if it's needed. Tasks are being given. There are more pages, by the way. So,
I guess we'll scare a lot of people from PhD with your
yeah, but just some statistics. I think the shortest project we have done was 6 weeks. So even though you have, you can see 51 days, 11 days, many things can be done simultaneously, and we can actually move faster.
The longest, you say?
The longest, that's for sure.
Not finished yet.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one. Exactly. Okay, and obviously the most important, and that's where the real work begins, is go live.
I actually will get back. We still have a time on that time. That's really important to think about it, not from one partner perspective. Even so, the Gabriel is kind of painting that from end-to-end process with all the cross elements, etc. One part. But just imagine if you select the partnership that will have separate Persa Bureau integrations, that will have separate fraud tool, it will have separate other tools, etc. You will almost need to repeat some of the parts twice, 3 times, 4 times, and etc. And just extended the time. So at the end, even so it's smaller parts in terms of issuer processor selection flow, it still takes a lot of time because you will need to integrate with the provider. This will add additional elements within the timeline of a project, and more of a headaches to integrate, more of a risk to deliver project in time, and etc. So that, I guess, to think about it. But obviously, as Gabriel said, you can get it fast if you are ready for that, or you can get this as a learning in way and go as it goes. But just imagine it will cost the time you spend there. That will be the project cost from Visa or MasterCard. That will be project cost from running the project with the processor. And with the other product, usually there's some upfront fees, setup fees that you need to think about, or the monthly or the one-off fees for a project, running month or days, and so on. So be careful with that. Be prepared, so that would not burn your budget.
Yeah, that's a good point. So after the acceptance note, when the implementation project has been completed, we are going live. The issuers start issuing cards. There's, at least on our side, there's at least 1 month of so-called babysitting period when we are in touch very, very closely and monitoring whether everything is working fine. And of course, there's an account manager. Well, nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect.
Yeah. But it's either from inconsistencies or imperfections on your side or the partnership side, or you haven't thought about some elements. So you'll still add something into the process. Usually it's pretty much clear and close to perfect when you're launching, right? But it's still something that you will figure out that doesn't work as well, or you haven't thought about some feature that will be needed because customers start asking, "Oh, we got a card, of course." Perfect, right?
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
But at the end, they say, "Oh, but I would like to have my watch being able to transact, having had a Garmin watch or something like that." So you need to think about all those features, extendability. So meaning that even so, you will choose the Google Watch or the Apple Pay, which most common features or capabilities. But at some point, the partners will the clients will ask for different other features. So you need to think about how easy you will be able to extend those features and capabilities like watch.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's a great point. We are talking about card issuing, and of course, when you say card issuing, the first thing that comes to your mind is a card. But in fact,
it's much broader concept now than it was before.
Exactly. Majority of the card issuing projects nowadays have tokenization project, which is part of the initial scope, or sometimes it's done in the second phase. So the client is already issuing plastic, and then they start the tokenization project. But nowadays it's almost unimaginable to not have tokenization, especially with the progress and younger generation using. So I don't remember when was the last time I saw my card. I'm using Garmi Pay all the time, so that's about that. I think we are coming till the end because it's been already more than 45 minutes in. I will quickly.
We're really chatty, right?
Yes.
It's free coffee for me.
For you. Yeah. Exactly. But
sorry, guys, if I'm taking too long of the Gabriel time. That's my issue.
We got your back. I will go quickly to the Q&A slide because I would like you to be able to scan the. Yeah. So this is the Q&A slide. I think if you have any questions, you can. Is it? Yeah. You can scan the QR code, and in about 5 minutes we will get to the questions. Hopefully, I will give you a few more seconds. And I would like to talk about the giveaway, which I mentioned at the beginning. There's a program that we have launched at DECTA. It's very, very fresh, just a couple of weeks running. It's called FinTech Fast Track. And in this program, each quarter, a potential issuer and a potential acquirer is being selected that will receive technical processing by DECTA with zero implementation fees and reduced monthly fees. So it's, I would say, a very unique program. And the details of that I have here in this presentation. So, and one more important thing, we will be sharing the details of this FinTech Fast Track program, I believe, today or tomorrow via email. So if you have signed up for this webinar and registered, you should automatically receive an email with more information. So we will not spend too much time on it right now. Just very quickly, I already mentioned it's each quarter. There's a possibility to apply for the program. So again, it's one card issuing and one card acquiring processing by DECTA. Each quarter selected, and there's a dedicated website for that. You will receive the link via email. And here are the conditions. So who can apply? So the prerequisites of applying means you need to have some sort of a license that will enable to issue cards or doing acquiring. So let it be an EMI, payment institution, EMD, or otherwise. In the MENA, LATAM regions, the license looks slightly different, but as long as the schemes will accept them, then we are fine with that. You need to have applied, or you need to be at least thinking about applying for Visa and MasterCard or UnionPay International membership for the card issuing or card acceptance. And you have applied or you are considering to apply for MasterCard FinTech and Visa Fast Track programs. I think, Ivaras, you also have experience with one of them. With both. Okay, fantastic. And of course, we mentioned that there needs to be a business plan. So the product that you are going to launch, there should be a business case behind. So basically, after you have applied, you will receive a contact from some DECTA representative, and we will discuss what else is needed in case it was not included in the application. So
does it mean that if there's a company with API, EMI, or their license that are able to by their license to issue the cards, they just decided it doesn't make sense for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even so, they haven't applied yet for Visa or MasterCard Fast Track for FinTech or anything like that, right?
Yeah, you don't exactly.
Because you can still acquire that kind of a capability while you're going, right?
Exactly.
As I mentioned before, first you still think about infrastructure and the capabilities, and only then you're deciding which card scheme you want to go after, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, in most cases, you will be thinking about what discounts the Visa or MasterCard offers, what capabilities that they have, which of the card method are preferred in your area, in your markets, right? So, and you will make a decision. So, but that's really important to think about, because depending on the situation, some of the partners have better or worse relationship with one or other card scheme. So usually what you do, you select the partner as a processor, and then you approach card scheme, because it might be that your processor will not have a capability with specific card scheme. So be aware of that, because that might change your view of the world, right? It's not all the providers have both schemes that they're compatible with.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's a very good point. And exactly as you mentioned, not necessarily you need to have applied for MasterCard or Visa principal membership. You can be just considering it, and there's a very good use case actually. There are certain companies we didn't really talk about it, but there's difference between principal membership and BIN sponsorship, and there are certain companies, and I have talked to very fast growing companies with huge investments behind, who are trying to attract or go live in many markets at the same time. So obviously for them, having a BIN sponsor in the local market is probably advantageous to applying for principal membership in each and every region, because that's obviously very costly. So that's a possibility to consider.
Okay. We have a question on the PCI DSS. Usually, the good thing is when you're selecting good partner, usually they already are themselves with PCI DSS. So you're avoiding keeping all the information of the cards and so on in your presences. So as long as you're not keeping the cards, you don't have a branch that requires you to use or work with the cards itself, ship them, pack them, and or see the pins, etc. You are not necessary to be a PCI DSS, because you can handle that through the environments that providers provide you with. So you can avoid the PCI DSS certification. I know that's really complicated in many cases, and you need to recertify yourself each year. If you have this in presences where you keep the data and so on, again, there's a premises and access points and so on. So we are adding a lot of complexity with PCI DSS. So if you're capable to avoid physical touch or view of a cards, it's better to do so, because you will save 50 to 100K by just avoiding that.
Yes, at DECTA we have a separate department for that, working on it for several months before renewing the PCI DSS. So very good words.
Yeah, it's really complicated. Okay. So better avoid PCI DSS.
Okay, what do we need to consider in the moment? I guess whether to choose Visa or MasterCard when it's the first time that we want to issue card. So I guess the question, if I would rephrase it, which scheme to consider?
Why?
So I will maybe answer quickly. You have also experience with working with the schemes, but I think it depends on the region where you are planning to issue the cards, because there are several programs that Visa and MasterCard are running in several regions, and it kind of depends on the local representative whether you get some good deal on potentially also zero implementation fee and some discounted monthly fees. So I think the best way to find out is to actually approach a local representative in the region where you want to issue cards and discuss the conditions. So what is your experience?
I guess we need to expand a bit more on to answer this perfectly, right? One, you investigate. I might repeat some sentences, but I'll expand on each. So one, you're looking from the country or region perspective, which of the providers have presence or bigger presence and so on. Usually when there is a closing on each other in terms of market share, there's a higher competition, because as in each of the business, right? When there is a competition, you're trying to rule over, right? You want to get more market share and so on. So the markets where the competition is higher usually are getting much better fees and or discount programs from the scheme itself, right? So it's really important to have a competition. From non-competition, you will not get much, right? So competition is always good. Now, other important part is what you will have as a product. So you need to think about whether the scheme itself have some better products. Do they have the FX capabilities platform, or do they have the discount programs for the business cards or private individual cards? Do they have other features or capabilities that are somewhat distinct between the schemes, right? So that might be a point of a decision. When you're selecting, or when you want to get or entry the market, even so if it's issuing card for a beginning, you still need to think about it, because at some point you will need to expand in order to be competitive in the market by issuing the cards as well with the additional features or capabilities. And other important thing, obviously, is money, right? Each of the schemes usually, and especially if you're somewhat compatible with fintech acronym, meaning being a entity that is fast growing financial institution of really young age, right? You comply with fast track, which means that you have different treatment from Visa and MasterCard. You are getting there much faster, easier, and you're getting much better discounts and capabilities, or some financial benefits, meaning even cash in advance for building your product if your ID is somewhat unique, right? So you need to look at the each scheme individually and think about the products and selection you will
and squeeze them.
Yeah, and squeeze them. They're rich guys. You need to squeeze.
Yeah, but we are friends. We are friends with both. So all is fine. Okay, I think we are actually reaching the dedicated time. There seems to be no additional questions. So with
we
this,
some already.
Yeah, we have answered. So it means hopefully that we did at least decent job in explaining the first steps of the card issuing, bringing some clarity. I'm sure for some of the listeners there was no news. For some it was all new. So with some closing thoughts, maybe, Aivaras.
If you will think about that as a somewhat you want to continue, reach out to us. Maybe that will become a podcast with some other people involved in the process. But jokes aside, I'm really happy that the DECTA invited me to this discussion. Obviously, I would love to speak over and over again on multiple topics. We are really quick on that. So I would say if you're thinking about anything specific as a topics and so on, just raise us awareness about them, about those concerns, problems, or issues you're facing. Your DECTA or me, we can get in touch and speak about those things, or dedicate webinar or podcast in the way for that specific topic, because issuing is not that easy. It's really complicated and lengthy process with multiple components in it. So that's a lot of things that you need to cover in it, and throughout 1 hour you will not be able to answer all of them. So if you have questions, raise that to Gabriel, me, or whatever the channels DECTA is offering, and we'll figure out about the next webinars and expansion on specific topic with more advanced knowledge in the area and more detailed approach to it, or we'll figure out how to answer those in personal way.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Have a good evening, and we'll see you hopefully during some next webinars.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.